Okay, welcome back to the deep dive. So today, we're going to dig into this new AI tool, right? Google Stitch.
Yeah, Stitch. It's one of the latest trying to be, a big shortcut for front-end folks, UI designers.
Right, promising to kind of whip up mobile and web app designs, like skip the starting grind.
Exactly. Automate that initial, sometimes kind of tedious bit of getting something on the page.
So we've been looking at a pretty detailed technical review of it. And our goal today, our mission really, is to figure out what it can actually do right now. The good, the bad, maybe the ugly. And answer that big question everyone's asking. Could this thing actually replace human web designers, like today?
And, maybe just as important, where's it heading? The AI, how fast it improves, often tells you more than the first version does.
Good point. Okay, first things first, getting access. For you listening, how easy is it to try?
Oh, super easy. It's completely free. All you need is a Google account, basically.
No cost. So what's the catch?
The main limit seems to be just how many times you can ask it to generate something each month, like an iteration cap.
Okay, and that cap actually leads us straight into how it works, doesn't it? Because there are two modes.
Right. The interface itself is, pretty familiar. History on the left, results in the middle, prompt at the bottom. Kind of like ChatGPT or others.
But you got to choose standard mode or experimental mode.
Exactly. And that choice matters quite a bit. Standard gives you way more, goes 250 iterations a month.
250. Okay. And the big plus there is.
That's the one that lets you export as HTML code and directly into Figma, which is, huge for workflow.
Totally. Figma integration is pretty much essential. So what about experimental?
Well, that's where the limit bites. Only 50 iterations a month.
Oof, that's a big drop. Why would you choose that?
The idea, I guess, is that it should give you better results. Higher qualities, supposedly. But, and this is but you lose the Figma export. It only spits out code.
Huh. So more tries in Figma or fewer tries, maybe better quality, but stuck with just code. That's a tricky trade-off right at the start.
It really is. And that experimental mode also has this feature where you can upload a sketch, like a drawing or a mock-up.
Oh, cool. Does that work well?
The review we saw said the results were, let's say, very, very mixed. Mostly not very good, actually. So probably not ready for prime time yet.
Okay, so let's focus on standard mode for now. That Figma export makes it the more likely candidate for actual use, I'd imagine.
Agreed.
So what happens when you give it a simple prompt, like, make me a portfolio website for a designer?
The initial result was described as, well, fairly generic. A bit like a CV, apparently. It included the basic stuff, portfolio section, etc., but, zero flair.
Right, but that's often the starting point. You expect to tweak it. What kind of customization does it offer?
It does have options. You can tell it things like use rounded corners on cards or buttons. You can change the theme, light mode, dark mode. Pick fonts, pick primary colors.
Okay, so you can refine it, like make the buttons red and use the interfont.
You can ask for that. But here's the first sort of snag they found. Sometimes it just ignores you.
Ignores you? How?
Like you ask for a specific red, and it just comes up with some random color combination instead. It doesn't always stick to the specific instructions on color.
That's frustrating. Takes away the control.
Exactly. And that lack of control, or maybe lack of understanding the rules, leads to a really big problem they found. Accessibility.
Accessibility. Wait, what happened?
When they tested a combination dark mode with that red theme example, the contrast was apparently terrible.
Seriously. From Google. You'd
No.
think that'd be baked in, wouldn't you?
But-
Basic contrast check.
You absolutely would, but nope. Text under images, text on buttons, a real lack of contrast. It doesn't seem to be following basic WSGA guidelines.
Wow. So is that just a bug, or does the AI just not understand accessibility principles?
Seems like the latter right now. Like, it's mimicking design patterns it's seen, but not the underlying rules about contrast ratios. That's a huge red flag for any real-world use. You'd have to manually fix all of that.
Okay, so designs are generic, controls iffy, accessibility is potentially broken. Not a great start. What about getting the design out? The exports. Let's talk code first.
Right, code export is in both modes. You can drop it into VS Code or whatever. But the quality of that code,
Give me a guess. Not great.
the review used the phrase, an awful lot of divs.
Div soup. So not clean semantic HTML then, just loads of nested containers.
Pretty much. Bloated, hard to maintain. The advice was basically, you could use it to maybe get the ball rolling, but you definitely wouldn't want to use it directly in production. Creates instant tech debt.
Okay, so the code's more of a rough starting point maybe? What about the Figma export? That was the big promise of standard mode.
It works. You do get a Figma file, and the design elements are editable, which is good.
But I sense a but coming.
The organization, it's apparently a total mess.
How messy.
The layers use, and I quote, very dubious naming conventions. Things like depth 1 frame, depth 2 frame.
Oh no, just meaningless labels.
Exactly. Nothing semantic, nothing grouped logically, just a jumble of frames with generic names.
So if the whole point was to save time, you save maybe a little time drafting, but then you spend ages cleaning up the Figma file just so it makes sense.
That's the trade-off, yeah.
Yeah.
A significant amount of remedial work needed just to organize it properly. Kind of undermines the time-saving aspect if you have to untangle it all.
Right. Okay, let's talk about actually using it to design. It's iterative, right? You prompt, refine, prompt again.
Yeah, you have to keep telling it what to change. Describe the tweaks you want. It does have a history feature, so you can go back and forth between versions, which is helpful.
But how well does it follow those iterative instructions, especially if they get a bit complex?
That seems to be where it really struggles. There was an example where the user asked to make the hero section full width and put the heading above the image. Simple enough, right?
Yeah, sounds clear. What did it do?
It put the heading onto the hero image instead. It didn't seem to grasp the positional instruction, the above part.
Struggles with spatial relationships, maybe? What about more complex layouts? Did they try anything fancy?
They did. They asked for a specific kind of trendy layout. 5 projects in a bento grid, you know the style, where maybe the first item takes up more space.
Yeah, I know bento grids. They're quite specific. How did Stitch handle that?
It completely failed. It just ignored the bento grid part entirely and gave a standard card layout.
Okay, so it couldn't do the complex layout. Annoying, but maybe understandable for current AI. Anything else?
The kicker was, in that same failed attempt, it also randomly switched the design back to light mode, even though the user hadn't asked it to.
It did what? It undid a previous setting on its own.
Yep. Actively reverted the theme change without instruction. It wasn't just failing to follow complex requests. It was actively messing up previous steps.
That sounds actively unhelpful, like it's working against you sometimes.
It certainly seems that way when you ask for anything beyond basic arrangements or color swaps. Nuance is not its strong suit right now.
And does experimental mode fare any better with this stuff, even though it's slower and lacks Figma?
Well, the review looked at a mobile design task in experimental mode, asking for multiple pages, contact, booking, support, that kind of thing.
Okay, a simple app structure. How is the consistency?
Non-existent, basically.
Yeah. Wait.
Major inconsistency issues.
Like what?
Different pages had completely different backgrounds. One might be pale yellow, another pinkish. Zero consistency.
Wow. That's bad. Like, fundamentally broken from a branding perspective.
Totally. But worse than that, the navigation was different on different pages.
No way. The actual menu items changed.
Yeah. One screen might have nav links for home, classes, contact, and another screen in the same supposed app would have home, explore, classes, profile.
Okay, that's unusable. If a human designer did that, they'd be fired.
Pretty much. It suggests the AI is generating each page almost in isolation, without any concept of a shared style guide or component library for the whole project.
So pulling this all together, the current verdict seems pretty clear.
Yeah, the review landed on average at best. The designs themselves are kind of lackluster.
And even if you get something, the amount of cleanup needed, fixing accessibility, organizing Figma layers, rewriting bloated code, it makes you question if it actually saves time overall.
Exactly. That remedial work is a big factor.
Which brings us back to the core question for designers listening. Should you be worried today?
Today, probably not if you're, as the review put it, a semi-decent designer. Stitch isn't creating high-quality, consistent, accessible work that follows complex briefs. Not yet.
Not yet. That's the key phrase, isn't it? Because the one thing we know about AI
is that it gets better, fast. This version we're talking about now, this is the worst Google Stitch will ever be.
Right. It's only going to improve from here as it gets more training data, more feedback.
Absolutely. The prediction from the analysis, which feels pretty realistic, is that in maybe a year or so, things could look very different.
And what happens then, according to this view?
Well, that's when the lower-end jobs start to get squeezed.
Right.
Junior designer roles, maybe intermediate roles in agencies or freelance, where the main task is cranking out fairly standard layouts, basic portfolio sites, simple app screens, that kind of work.
The stuff that Stitch is trying to do, even if it's not doing it well yet.
Precisely.
Yeah.
That work is directly in the crosshairs.
Right.
The prediction was those jobs will be in jeopardy or gone.
Because the tool is free, it's accessible, the only real barrier left is the AI's current capability level. Once
Yep.
that improves,
And the landscape changes, potentially very quickly for that segment of the market.
it leaves us with a pretty challenging final thought, doesn't it? If Stitch is free now, and its main limitation is just that the output is kind of, what does that really mean for designers whose bread and butter is those basic UI layouts over the next, say, 12 to 18 months? Even if the AI isn't perfect yet, the direction of travel seems clear.
It really does. It suggests the value proposition for designers needs to shift, maybe faster than we thought, away from just executing basic layouts and much more towards the strategic thinking, the complex interactions, the user empathy, the system design, stuff AI struggles with.
So the tension isn't about beating the AI at its own game today.
No, it's about recognizing that the game is changing. The AI is currently poor at this specific task, but its improvement is almost guaranteed. For designers focused on that task, the urgency to upskill, to focus on higher-level problem solving, well, just got very real.
A sobering thought to end on. The challenge isn't the tool's current quality, but the speed of its evolution. Thanks for diving deep with us on this one.